Live from London, it's Plank of the Week with Mike Graham.
Welcome to Plank of the Week. I'm Mike Graham, and this is the one show that you don't have to worry about doing anything. You just sit back, you relax, we tell you about all the planks that have been before us this very week, the last 7 days, and then we'll pick a winner right at the end. I have, of course, got the inimitable Jeremy Kyle, the beautiful Candice Holdsworth, the very masterful Will Geddes, and the showbiz queen of the Sun. It is, of course, the one and only Amanda Devlin.
Goodness.
I did that really well. Normally I get it completely wrong when I try and be clever. Jeremy Kyle, do kick us off. It's been a momentous week.
It has been a momentous...
For freedom.
And actually, on the week where we're doing Plank of the Week,
yes.
My hero of the week would be, I make no apology for this, when I watched Donald Trump do that inauguration speech, and we did it live on Drive on Tour, I had goosebumps. Yeah. To finally find a politician, and there isn't... Look, he's not the greatest... There are flaws, and there are some things that he's said and done that I disagree with. But when I see a man talking about his country, talking about, you know, liquid gold, 2 genders, I'm going to secure the borders, I was just like, oh, my God. And I felt like the American people, and I felt like even the world and the media were transfixed. I thought the speech was incredible.
It was great.
I thought he took everybody with him. But of course...
He's the absolute antithesis of the word plank, isn't he? He's everything that you are not.
And then the following morning, of course, I tuned into, there's a problem. And I just thought...
Fixing the foundations.
Everybody wanted to move to America. We're all going to leave
Well,
after this show.
This is how everyone's feeling at the moment.
Mate. But of course, there is always, when anybody like Trump has the gonads to stand up and be as honest as he is, there are haters.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, of course.
And
these are the planks, right?
These are the planks. So my first plank nomination this week are for the hundreds of thousands of anti-Trump demonstrators who took to the streets the day of the inauguration, outside Downing Street, and 48 of them turned up.
Yes.
48 unwashed, uneducated idiots. Have a look. The footage is great.
I think we could watch these guys. Come on.
You say Trump! Dumb! Trump! Dumb! Trump! Dumb, dumb, dumb! Trump, Trump, Trump!
Donald Trump doesn't, I know they exist, doesn't care about them, and he's actually the president of a different country.
Yeah, but that is your archetypal. Why I've nominated them, your archetypal bunch of uneducated, unwashed professional moaners, like Just Stop Oil, like these other people who... I mean, look at her. The fact is, let's nail this. Donald Trump won the popular vote, nearly 90 million people, of the biggest country, the most successful, the country that should police the world, and within 48 hours, everybody's talking about the financial implications, how strong they look. Wouldn't we do with somebody like that in this country? And you see these bedwetters, they moan from now to the end of time. There's all, I saw some...
Stop fascism.
Yeah, stop fascism, stop racism, stop eating cheese. Oh, have a wash.
Right. You know what I'm disappointed about?
What?
No pro-Palestine flags there. Because
I'm
they're
surprised.
The perfect demographic.
There might have been 1 or 2, but we just
sure.
didn't see them. But let's have a look at Keir Starmer. He is our Prime Minister, of course, who's looking forward. As we record this, we should say that he still has yet to have a conversation.
Well, can I just jump in and say,
did you see the
47th president said last night, I don't know about trips yet. It's always been the UK first, and then he moved on.
Right.
I am telling you, on anything that I've got, Starmer is at the back of the queue for Donald Trump.
Absolutely.
Back of the queue.
That's all surprised. And here's why.
Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time round. I'm anti-Trump. I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States.
Awesome.
The 47th President of the United States. Even he manages to make Trump sound boring. The 47th President.
And I just very quickly, I know it's nothing to do with my nomination, but there's Trump talking about 2 genders. America's going to be great again. America's going to control the world. We're going to look after our people. The rhetoric was so strong. The delivery was fantastic. It was calm and controlled. And he goes, please release the sausages.
But that was it. But I think we've all noticed it. Like, the left has just collapsed.
Yeah.
You know, like an intellectual and moral force.
They're having a collective sort of hissy fit, aren't they? But nobody cares.
And nobody cares. Like, it's like this government as well. Like, they don't really have legitimacy. I think that's why they've unravelled so quickly and become so unpopular.
But also the media. The media, of course, in this country are just as bad as people. You should have seen CNN, the faces of the presenters on CNN the day of the inauguration. You'd literally think they just contracted typhoid or something.
Yeah.
Just sitting there. And of course, Laura Kuenssberg last Sunday actually started to show off with, but not everybody wants Trump to be president. And they went to a similarly hardly anyone demonstrating outside the White House against Trump, as if that was meaningful.
Same as the people who still moan about Brexit.
Yeah, exactly.
It was voted in, leave it.
Jeremy, I think the one thing that it tapped into, and so many people I've spoken to, Mike, who've been very sort of just injected with positivity with Trump's inauguration, is just, as you say, Jez, the display of patriotism. You know, Gulf of Mexico being renamed as the Gulf of America.
Right.
I mean, I love it.
Brilliant.
And over here, you get accused of being far right if you're patriotic.
Yes,
and
exactly.
that's the big problem.
If you imagine what would happen if you put a flag outside your house, you know.
Oh, yeah.
But and not only did Keir Starmer not get invited, but lots of other people did get invited. In addition to all the other world leaders, Boris Johnson was there.
Logan Paul, the boxer, was there before
Liz Truss was there. Suella Braverman was there. You know, there's a whole host of Nigel Farage, of course, was there. But Suella Braverman was quizzed, believe it or not, by Channel 4. Another very patriotic organisation. Have a look at this.
Why is it important for you to be here?
Listen, I've got the Make America Great hat again. Listen, it's an honour to be here, and I'm very grateful for the invitation for the inauguration.
You got a direct invitation from Mr. Trump.
And I'm very looking much forward to attending the rally tomorrow. But
and you're here with Lawrence Fox as well?
We happen to.
Did you travel together?
They're so kind of mealy-mouthed, aren't they? Oh, why are you coming here? Well, why are you here?
One of the greatest things for me.
You're standing here asking me questions. What are you doing?
One of the greatest things for me, and I can only hope that one day we have somebody that brave who doesn't care about the criticism to lead this country, is that all the bedwetters, all the moral, ideological, left-wing haters, as I call them, shut up.
Yeah.
He's won. He's the most powerful man in the world. And do you know why? Because he said to your average Americans, and you know America, not the elite in Washington or in the Hollywood set, but to the people in middle America, right? On caravan parks, right? Seriously, and in trailers. I'm going to make your gas cheaper, your food cheaper. I'm going to make this country safer, and I'm going to make us stronger. Follow me. And they did.
Yeah, but even more, he
Yeah.
started rolling out with these executive orders.
Straight away.
Yeah. We
Do
look
what
back
you're
at
gonna
look at
say.
Starmer's first 100 days. I think we were struggling to see anything in his manifesto that actually he realised,
put anything in his
rather than turning it
manifesto.
around.
Well, the great thing about the first 100 days was it was masterminded by Sue Gray, who didn't last 100 days. She was out on day 93, and you go, you haven't really planned this very
Didn't work well.
No. Let's have a look at this, though. Even the Daily Telegraph got a bit of sort of Trump derangement syndrome. Because they did a comparison between the two sort of crowd sizes for the inauguration, saying that one on the left, which is obviously this year, as opposed to the one on the right, which was, I guess, 2016, I think it was.
That'll be because it was minus 40, there was a
and
vortex,
everybody was
it was
inside.
indoors.
Exactly.
You can't win,
exactly.
can you?
But it's absolute madness. But let's remember, 8 years ago, when Trump won the first time around, 2016, this might jog your memory of how people reacted.
Donald J. Trump is now president of the United States.
Love it. Love it.
What a great honor to be able to introduce for the first time ever anywhere the 45th President of the United States of America.
Yeah, I'm afraid it's true. Thank you very much indeed. Incredible, isn't it? What's wrong with people?
Democracy, right? Let's just be honest. Like him or loathe him,
Yeah.
they threw everything at him. Criminal charges, sexual charges, assassination attempts. And that man captured by being and holding the pulse of the American people exactly what they wanted to hear. And as you quite rightly said, mate, did it straight away.
And as everybody's telling us now, he lives on a diet of McDonald's and a Diet Coke and 5 hours sleep a night. You know, that's where I'm going.
You are going to be president of the United Kingdom.
I mean, I don't like Diet Coke much, but the rest I can do. Candice, over to you.
Oh, well, switching over to slightly more gloomy affairs.
Yes.
Well, Keir Starmer.
Ooh, close. Rachel Reeves.
Rachel.
Richard the
Richard III. Maybe we should start calling her Rachel III.
Her big thing before she got elected is we're going to go for growth. We're going to be the biggest growing economy. Not happening. Basically, anemic growth. People are even projecting it could get worse. Now the biggest fall in employment since the pandemic.
Yeah.
All linked to this rise in national insurance, employers' national insurance. So people are cutting jobs in
Which is going to kick in April, isn't it?
Yes.
So we haven't even got the money.
Destroying small businesses.
Exactly.
The lifeblood of
Well, we
success.
spoke to the boss of Brewdog this week. He's one of the great British success stories. You know, he's a Scottish entrepreneur, started what he called a microbrewery. It's now making millions and millions of pounds. He's having to put millions of his own money into the company because he says it's never been a worse time to start a business in the UK than now. And he's really worried for the future.
Yeah, because the thing is, the way they look at it, they're very ideological, Labour. They think all the growth comes from the state. So what they're going to do is they're going to pump loads of money into the economy. It's basically what Biden's been doing, you know, just putting
that
loads...
worked out.
Yeah.
But they don't have any money. It's because it's money they have to borrow. Here's another figure for you. This week, public finances covering December 2024 show the government borrowed £17.8 billion. That's £3 billion more than the OBR forecast. So she's now actually breaking her own fiscal rules. And that, by the way, is £10 billion more than it was in December of the year before. The third highest December borrowing on record.
So just very quickly, we've got a £22 billion black hole, they've said, when the Tories left power. And this isn't sticking up for the Tories. They've now borrowed another £18 billion, and this is to pay their union mates $11 billion in pay rises to drive a train 4 days a week. They're idiots.
They are idiots. Yeah.
It's a joke.
It is a joke. Now, talking of jokes, your nomination next week.
I think I've won it.
Is this Sir Keir Starmer?
It is.
Yeah, we got there in the end.
Sir Keir Starmer.
Oh, he's got the winner. He's done that. He's changed. I'm not coming on unless I win.
I'm not coming on again. No, I think it's a shoo-in, isn't it? I mean, Keir
That's
Starmer.
very cocky.
He won it last week.
Well,
Actually, no, I think we gave it to somebody else last week.
You cannot give it to a man who says I'm a shoo-in.
Yeah,
it's not
true.
So, who else could we potentially nominate
Where
for
to
Plank
begin?
of the Week?
Where to begin?
Keir Starmer.
I mean, blimey.
Keir, Mr. Beige Starmer, or Stalin, or whatever you want to call him.
Keir, never here, free gear, two-tier.
Granny Harmer, Starmer.
Yeah.
Granny armour, perfect. I think really the nomination had to be born out of his statement yesterday, as you were saying, Jess, his public statement about Southport.
Yeah.
No mention of the families that were affected directly by it. Yeah. No mention of the individuals who, in the vacuum of no knowledge and information, which, to be honest, this is why people go to Twitter. They want to find out the information as quickly as they possibly can. And it will leak. We know it leaks from journalists, from sources, from the police, from various different agencies. It will get out there. And people were literally vilified for going, hang on a second, this government's turning around to us.
There's something not right about
They've released information about previous terrorists.
Right.
And I'm sorry, I'm in the world of counter-terrorism. And I've dealt with individuals across the world. The fact that they're not flying a Shahada or they have AQ sort of plastered or tattooed onto their chest doesn't mean that they're not a terrorist. The fact of the matter is this individual was creating ricin. He had downloaded the Al-Qaeda training manual, which in itself is a terrorism offence because it's preparation for acts of terrorism.
You can order it online from Waterstones.
And of course, the other problem that happened was that they released this ridiculous picture of him, didn't they? Yeah. And said he was from Wales and that he was a choir boy. There he is on the left, preparing himself for school. And there he is on the right, looking like a murdering fanatic. Islamic terror group.
And what I don't get, Mike, and what really narks me is loads of people who are backing up Starmer right now and saying, no, that information should have been kept quiet. The CPS commanded them not to. I mean, you were talking to Lord Carlisle. I mean,
I was.
His argument was about as robust as a blancmange on a wet day. I mean, literally, there is nothing to have stopped the government saying this individual is believed, was referred to the PREVENT programme.
3 times.
Doesn't mean that he's a terrorist, but was referred 3 times. And secondly, was found in the possession subsequently of materials that are terrorism related.
Yeah.
Whether this could be classified as a terrorism event, that's a different matter.
But he was then later charged with a terrorist offence.
Yeah, exactly.
Keir Starmer effectively this week...
as soon as he's charged...
But also, Keir Starmer effectively said this week that he is a terrorist.
Yeah.
And that we have to somehow change the definition of terrorism.
I was listening to Mike in the car just really, really quickly. I've said it before off air. I looked at it and I thought to myself, this isn't right. They've said about terrorism in its most basic terms on other situations. The idea that he says yesterday, or whatever it was, that would have prejudiced the case. I just want to say this. By saying nothing, the riots erupted through social media. He then stood up and politicised those riots by saying they're right-wing, far-right. Now, there were people on the streets, and I'm not condoning the far-right at all, but there were people on the streets who aren't far-right, who have been prosecuted and gone to prison, presumably because our Prime Minister, called them far-right. Yeah, so where's the duplicity in that?
But Jez, there were also people who weren't on the street, but who
are in prison for writing something.
Exactly, for writing something on Facebook.
Yeah, unbelievable stuff. Well, let's have a look at Starmer's press conference yesterday, or rather this week.
And when I look through the details of this case, the extreme nature of the violence, the meticulous plan to attack young children in a place of joy and safety, violence clearly intended to terrorise, then I understand why people wonder what the word terrorism means.
Nobody wonders what the word terrorism
No,
means.
we all
Everybody
know
knows
what it
what it
means.
bloody well means, right?
He's so condescending, Mike, isn't he?
He does.
talks down. And I found out something from you yesterday on the show. Nigel Farage stood up and asked a question, was shouted out of the House of Commons, not allowed to ask the question. Lindsay Hall shut him down. Is there more to this? It doesn't sound right. 2 days later, Angela Rayner, who's his deputy, tweeted, this is fake news to suggest this bloke's a terrorist.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the reason. I mean,
she would have known, Jez.
Yeah.
She would have known.
And surely that is also tantamount to interference with a jury trial. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. Also, Lord Carlisle, who I shredded a little bit earlier.
Yeah, beautifully.
Turns out, right, that he is married to Keir Starmer's former legal advisor when he was the Director of Public Prosecutions. It's a very cosy.
Couldn't make it up, could you?
You really couldn't.
It's very incestuous, the ideological Islington set,
these
isn't it?
Islington human rights lawyers, you literally don't want to be anywhere near them. Amanda, over to you.
On to allegedly
something's rising.
Yeah, something's rising. Animals rising.
Animal
rising. And probably friends with Keir Starmer. I imagine this is the kind of people he hangs out with. People who are in a Sainsbury's in Southampton and they are protesting against anyone eating meat, anyone enjoying that side of life. So they are just sitting in the aisle to completely block it. And they had these incredible shoppers who just took no nonsense. They wanted to ram them down with their trolleys.
I think we've got a little clip.
Here they are. They've been arrested, the rammers.
Well, here they are protesting with some angry locals.
Excuse me, have you got respect? I asked her to excuse me. I asked her to excuse you. And she said no. So
Lovely.
go around the other way. Sir, she said no, so go around the other way. I don't care.
I want to get past here.
I like it.
No, I'm not going round. You move. No. Well, I'll just knock you out the way with my trolley then.
Brilliant. I mean, this is what's great about Britain. You know, these are the people who are the salt of the earth. You know, I'm not going round you. I'm going through you.
Yeah.
You know, she's an
I was
elderly
waiting
woman.
for you to play me a clip where the police came and arrested the 2 people with trolleys. That's how much.
Yes.
No, you laugh. That's how much I
No,
worry
that's-
about this country. We're so soft.
Right.
I can't stand that lot because, one, they claimed that they were being assaulted by these older shoppers who are just trying to get on with their lives.
Yeah.
I mean, I know that they're trying to basically improve the standard of welfare for animals in the world.
Not.
This is
really
what
not.
they claim to do.
Yeah.
Right?
They're professional
But
moaners.
but instead of going to the people who actually make decisions and things, they're inconveniencing these people who are
Ordinary
just trying to
people
get
trying
on
to
with
do
their
their
day.
shopping.
And the thing that really, really annoyed me was the staff member in the background. I don't know if you've spotted him.
Standing.
You can see him. He looks terrified. He's like, I don't know what to do here. And then he leans over to one of the shoppers and says, "Shall I just grab what you want? I'll just grab it for you."
Exactly
No,
right.
they should be barging past these people. You should be throwing those people
move
out.
them out of the way.
I'd have gone
They are
to the
causing a
nearest cafe
disturbance.
and ordered them
Get
all
rid
a
of them.
bleeding bacon sandwich and given it to them. Honest to God.
I know.
Knock them out.
We've
of the
got another
way.
clip here where apparently the police do show up, but this is where the protesters are trying to stop a disabled man.
No, I just believe in freedom of speech. And at the end of the day, I believe in freedom of speech. It's telling them they are not.
They're exercising our freedom of speech, sir.
Hang on, why are the coppers dealing
Why are
with
the
him
coppers
and not
stopping
dealing
him?
with the
Yeah.
idiots
exactly.
sitting down?
As Jeremy said, I mean, you actually called it right. The
Yeah.
police have turned up, and now they're quizzing the guy. In the,
I'd have put that in third gear and knocked him out.
I know.
Honestly.
Why are they not lifting these characters out of the way and letting a man who is disabled...
Remember that footage you played on Plank about a year ago? The German police dealing with the Just Stop. I just ripped them off the road and
ripped
threw
them off
them
the
in.
road.
You know what? Your point about the bacon
pathetic they
sandwich?
are.
I would have had a nice frozen ribeye and introduced them to that.
Yeah.
Honestly, what has happened to this country that we are... I mean, these are old people trying to get some food. It's just ludicrous.
But this is what they do. They're like occupying supermarket aisles. There's something very pathetic about it.
Right.
Seriously, the woke left have become something very, very, very pathetic. I feel like the right
They
side...
wake up every morning in tears, like weeping.
Donald Trump, no!
Yes.
No!
Weeping into their tofu.
But the right is energised
Right.
and organised.
I think the problem is ironic. The problem is the fact that they probably just need a good steak. And then they'll actually be happier people.
Yeah.
And they'll be not sitting on the floor. They'll be
They
bouncing
won't-
around,
Amanda,
having
actually,
fun.
I hate to say this, it's a short aside. A very good friend of mine whose big brand is veganism, and he's got vegan restaurants around the world. I won't name him. He saw me the other day, he said, Will, I'm on meat. And I went, welcome to the man's club.
Right. Absolutely
he
right.
loves it
I
now.
tell you what, actually, and we may have missed a trick here because he's not on the list. Dale Vince He's not had a great week, has he? The honorary plank of the week. He's settled his divorce claim from Mrs. Vince for £40.5 million. 40 million.
I mean, then.
Jeremy, I don't want to in any way cause you.
You've done it again. You're half an hour in.
You know,
he's almost as wealthy as you.
And do you know what he said? He said, you know, I'm really pleased to be rid of this toxic woman. If she'd only taken my earlier offer, we could have saved a lot of money. How much money has this guy got?
Wow.
He's paid out £40.5 million and he's still laughing.
But he's the man of the people.
Nice.
I mean...
You know I'm moving in with you soon because everything's going wrong. You know,
absolutely.
Hang on, I've got dabs on the first
My ex-wife's coming to visit in April as well. Anyway...
you go out and I'll look after her.
Yeah, fine. Fair enough, I wouldn't. Coming up, we're going to be going across the United States of America again. We've got more to say about the Mayor of London, would you believe? This is Plank of the Week. Welcome back to Plank of the Week, the one show where you don't have to judge anything because we do it all for you. It's already packaged up with a little tiny ribbon on it. We've already had 4 amazing nominations. I'm going to go back to the United States of America, though, because last week I nominated him because I said this might be the last chance we have to nominate the then President of the United States, the 46th President, Joe Biden. But I'm afraid, judging by this week's activities from Biden, we're going to have to put him in again. Mm-hmm. And this may well be literally the last time because he was president until 5 o'clock our time on Monday. When he had to sort of hand over the reins officially to Donald Trump. But do you know what he was doing at the very end of his presidency? As he was actually sitting in the rotunda, the place where they had the January the 6th riots and all of that, just as Donald Trump was speaking...
He pooed himself.
He may have done that as well. Geddes is about to spit his water out. He may have done that. He did have a funny look on his face.
He was like that?
Yeah. But... he actually pardoned 5 members of his own family. And he did it at that moment.
Smart move.
He did it so late in the day so that nobody could question it. Nobody could actually rescind it. And it's a very weird thing that they do in America where you can pardon somebody before they've actually been found guilty of anything. So,
I don't usually agree with Julia, but she said earlier, I think it's wrong, that whole pardoning thing.
The whole situation is weird, but he basically pardoned 5 members of his family, having already pardoned Hunter Biden, who's the sort of the crook of the family, you know. From any, not just from all of the things that he was found guilty of, but for any other thing that he's accused of. And that's what's happened. But let's have a look at what he said before he pardoned his entire family.
President Trump is reportedly considering a wave of preemptive pardons. Does this concern you?
You're not going to see in our administration that kind of approach to pardons.
He said he wasn't going to do it.
Oops. He forgot.
He obviously did forget. And he suddenly remembered right near the end. But also, I mean, what an absolutely shambolic 4 years it's been. And I think, as we've been discussing earlier, you know, Donald Trump now, this great kind of idea of patriotism and positivity and confidence and ambition and all the things that we know America should be famous for. Biden didn't have any of those. You know, all he was
I think he should win Plank of the Week because, again, I'm going to credit Julia. She said earlier she's convinced that he voted for Trump. The smile on his face. The smile on his face almost said,
I love it.
I'm so done with you lot. I can go to my grave knowing I beat Donald Trump. Right. This woman's a waste of space. I'm out of here. I honestly think.
And I must say, one of the most enjoyable parts of Monday afternoon watching the inauguration speech was Kamala Harris's face. And also Biden's face, as everybody kept standing up around
Everyone's
them.
face
Standing
was really
ovation. Everybody was
the woman
cheering,
next to Kamala kept going up and down like
punching
the green.
the air, and they were just sitting there, and they couldn't even bring themselves to clap.
It was incredibly satisfying because they've been so smug, and they were told everyone, it's these kind of, you know, really rich people with all on their high morals and everything. And then they say, you know, this is what you should do. This is how you should vote. You would be stupid to vote for Trump. Right. And then for them to be able to sit there and have to face the music of, no, you're wrong. You can't tell people what to do.
No, exactly.
They showed their true colours by their lack of dignity.
They did.
And grace, where at that particular event, in front of the world's eyes, they could have redeemed themselves.
Did you see Hillary Clinton?
I did see Hillary
Clinton laughing when he said about
I was watching your coverage of it, which I thought was brilliant on Monday, because talk, I think, was very different to everybody else, as we always are.
You guys are all on.
At one point, you know, when they walk outside and there's a helicopter, Marine One, it's called, by the way, and they were all standing there, and suddenly Biden and his missus go off in a helicopter, and old Kamala and her dopey husband have to get in a car. And Jeremy said, "Yeah, somebody just called a cab for them."
An Uber.
Because it looked like it was
the
an
reason
Uber
he's tongue-in-cheek saying you did a good job is I came in the next day, I thought we'd done a good job, but you've got these screens and there's a delay, and I had to do this commentary over pictures of it. And at one point, Denny, our boss, went, "No." And my favourite is when you went, "And now they're coming towards a man in a red tie." And then I went, "Oh, somebody's come out to sing karaoke in a velvet jacket. Oh, no, it's the national anthem."
It was very funny. It was very funny. But how about this, right? We've got some footage here of Biden handing out these pardons. Basically...
It's quick.
Yeah, there we go.
Is that it?
No, this is a bit of a joke. There's about 1,800 pardons they're handing out. Also, another odd moment of many odd moments of the Biden presidency. As he was leaving, he appears to stroke the Secret Service man's hand.
Oh. How would you feel as a Secret Service operative? Not that we should say that because people will know that you are now. How would you feel if somebody had stroked your hand?
Well, it depends on who it was.
Yeah.
Jeremy.
What if it was Joe? What if it was Joe Biden? I don't think you'd be too keen.
Not so much. Kamala.
I guess if you're a Secret Service man now, then you might be more worried because Trump is probably more of a target than Biden ever was. So, I mean, you might not want to be on the front line.
No, I'd like the job with Trump.
Yeah.
You'd want to protect him, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
There would
you'd
be
want to
that
look
loyalty.
after him. At least you got the loyalty for the principle,
Yeah.
rather than Biden. You'd be like,
yeah.
support this.
Do you
way,
remember
sir.
there was another thing that the left got completely wrong? This was back in 2020 when they were campaigning, and Trump, and it was in the middle of COVID, and Trump gets in the back of the Escalade, and he gets absolutely taken to the cleaners by all the lefties who say he's not wearing a mask. And you're going, he's putting the Secret Service guys in danger. I'm like, these guys are literally paid to get in the way of a bullet. I don't think they're going to be too bothered about the fact that he's not wearing a mask. If somebody shoots at them, they're going to jump in front of him.
Yeah, but I bet you the people who were saying that were the type of people who drive around with a mask.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Did you not see Biden when Trump and Mrs. Trump arrived at the White House?
Yeah.
He went, "Welcome home.
Welcome home.
Welcome home, Donald." It's
Yeah.
like, what? Sorry, you've just been battered. Your legacy has gone. Welcome home, Donald.
Yeah.
But where are the Democrats now?
Nowhere.
Do you think that
Nowhere.
Do you think they believed their own propaganda, and now they're in a state of
Like
just
this
like
lot here.
collapse?
Yeah. No, I had somebody on this week from Democrats Abroad who said the thing was we didn't get our message across.
Yeah.
I went, no.
Your message
you
is
don't
wrong.
have a message.
Your message is wrong.
Exactly.
It's a bit like the socialists here, Candice, and I genuinely believe this. They are so up themselves that they believe that if you don't believe their ideological crap, you're wrong. There's something wrong with you. You're not a proper human being.
You know who I do love is Megyn Kelly. Megyn Kelly's been going for scalps left, right,
She's been
and
great.
centre. She's been
Speaking
so funny.
of socialists, let's talk about Sadiq Khan, shall we?
I think he's a shoo-in this week for playing.
I thought you were going to say something else there.
I've dealt with him being knighted.
Yeah.
I don't know how to describe.
We don't recognise the knighthood, by the way. Here
we don't recognise the knighthood. We recognise the fact he's destroyed most of my mates' jobs in London who drive black cabs.
Yeah.
He's just an. We've talked so often about him, but this week in the Assembly, there he was in his chair, and Susan Hall, who stood for him, stood against him for the Conservative Party, asked him a very. Should we show the clip because it's brilliant?
This is a brilliant clip. This is Susan Hall asking Sadiq Khan a very legitimate question.
Just how many grooming gangs have we got in London?
What does she mean by that?
You know full well what I mean by that. It's all over the television. You know exactly what I mean by that. These gangs of people that are grooming young girls for sex. Do we actually have those in London?
I'm unclear, Chair, what is meant by the question. If she could spell it out, I can answer.
I've just spelt it out. Are you not listening? It's the sort of gangs that groom young girls at a young age for sex. Exactly how much clearer do you want me to be?
I mean, it's obvious what he's trying to do there, right? He's trying to get her to say Pakistani grooming gangs or Asian grooming gangs.
Well, I would have said it to him.
Yeah, but he would then call her racist because he called her racist all the way through the campaign. He called her racist. His supporters called her racist. They basically chased her out.
I think that also, the reason that I've nominated him is symptomatic of the issue that Labour have about this whole, and I don't call them grooming gangs, I'm really sorry, I call them rape gangs.
Yeah.
I think they know, the Labour Party, and he knows in London, that this is widespread, this is much deeper and higher than any of us can imagine, and if they stand up and speak the truth, Rotherham, the police said, didn't they? It took 8 years because they were worried about cultural explosions. Yes. If we've got to a point where you can groom a young girl and rape her and get away with her because you've got a different colour skin, that's not how the world should work.
Exactly.
He's terrified she was going to say Muslim. He would have used it. The fact of the matter is, it's not racist, it's factual.
Yeah.
And if you can't say the truth, then what sort of... Honestly, it drives me insane. That man, I deplore that Londoners, 1 million people vote... I don't live in London. 1 million of the 12 million voted for him. The 11 million others should hang your heads in shame. You should have come out and thrown that disgusting human being out of power. I think he's a disgrace, Mike.
He
I
is.
really do.
The thing is, he's made himself look like an idiot.
Yeah, he did.
But he gets away with it.
But by claiming he doesn't understand it, we all look and go, well, what are you talking about?
But he's so arrogant, right?
Yes.
He's the guy who doesn't answer really any questions. He's always, he was once asked, and it wasn't even a tongue-in-cheek question, by one of the Tories in the London Assembly, would you ever have described something that you've done as a mistake? Have you ever made a mistake and you've ever done anything that you regret? And he just went, no.
And actually, by the way...
another feather in his cap this week, I don't know whether you guys saw this, London has now been seen as the shoplifting capital of the UK, and it's an epidemic under...
Well, Richard Littlejohn in the Mail wrote a column this week, and he said, Napoleon used to call us a nation of shopkeepers. We're now a nation of shoplifters.
Exactly.
But so he takes on the Tories. He refuses to acknowledge or have anything to do with the Reform members of the London Assembly.
Yeah.
And this week, help me out, he took on the government, didn't he?
He
He started to have a go at
We'll come back to
Starmer
that.
now.
Let's have a look first of all at the clip of him talking to Alex Wilson, who is the Reform candidate, the Reform representative, shall we say, in the London Assembly. Check this out.
The year's only just begun, and already we've seen at least 9 major stabbing incidents on our streets. The 1st of January, 25-year-old man stabbed on Oxford Street. 5th of January, double stabbing on Kilburn High Road.
As a rule of thumb, I never encourage anyone to work with Reform.
I really, really hope that other members present, perhaps will have a more constructive conversation with me. Thank you.
Just before he said that about Reform, he was asked by Alex Wilson, who's a member there, would you please encourage other people to join me in investigating this and opening a sort of panel discussion or something about knife crime? And he just said no, basically, because I don't work with Reform. I mean, it's extraordinary, isn't it?
What about dealing with that epidemic that you've said, crime, shoplifting, but knife crime, the worst in the land? No, he's so obstinate and so arrogant.
He's so arrogant.
He's got no gravitas.
No.
For the amount of time he has spent as London mayor, I mean, this is one of the world's great cities.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just got nothing to say.
He's trying hard to ruin it.
I mean, we thought Ken Livingstone was bad.
This guy's a
walk in the park.
But I mean, there's even more stories than that, because we've also seen at the weekend, he did an interview with The Observer, in which he basically said that he was very worried that there was the rise of the far right, fascism was taking over, referring to Donald Trump. He had to be slapped down by a member of the government to say, that's not what you say, and he had to clarify that. Also, he's now at war with Rachel Reeves, isn't everybody? Because she wants to introduce the 3rd runway at Heathrow, and he's saying he doesn't want that. So he's now going to...
You know he wants to be Prime Minister, don't you?
I know.
He genuinely believes.
It's a real ego trip for him, because I think with him and Andy Burnham having the power of mayor, it's gone to their heads entirely.
Totally.
You've got someone like their egos, you can just see them really stabbing Keir in the back. And Keir he's doing really, really badly.
He is.
From day one.
Yeah.
So we know that they'll look at him like a wounded animal. Yeah. And they're going to do something about it.
And I wouldn't be
in the
surprised, you're
future.
absolutely right. If Keir Starmer is removed, as I believe it will be, before the time is up, I wouldn't be surprised if Sadiq Khan makes a pitch for it, and somehow gets himself into Parliament. He's been there before.
He'll be dropped into a safe seat.
Yeah.
That's what's so funny about it.
Yeah,
They'll manufacture
But he was also in a clip this week, because, he's also under investigation now for getting a load of Taylor Swift tickets for free, which he didn't declare, and which he didn't declare from the place they came from.
Bet he went there with blue lights on his Range Rover.
She went with blue lights, and that's a connection as well. And he also was seen in talking to Dawn Butler, who happens to have Wembley in her constituency, joking about the fact that, well, we all know why Dawn Butler's going to be a good friend to us coming up, because Taylor Swift's going to be playing at Wembley. I mean, he's actually talking like that. Candice, over to you.
Yes, so...
Bridget Phillipson, another member of our glorious cabinet.
Yes, and apparently a Plank of the Week first-timer. We've
think
never
so,
nominated her before.
Education sector.
Yes, and a journalist described her to me, and they described her really well. They said she's one of these people that, like, in the Labour Party, everyone adores her. Outside of it, like, she's loathed. Because she is such an ideologue and such a dogmatist.
No.
So it's quite interesting this weekend. The Sun reported that all these education reforms that she's bringing in that no one has asked for. It's basically all just because it's the Tories did it.
And it's all the teaching unions that are pushing it, right?
Yes, yes. So even people within the Labour Party are saying to her, you're just caving to the unions on everything. Because she's trying to bring in all these reforms for the academies, which are some of the most successful reforms ever brought in. I mean, that's one of the big success stories of the last 14 years. We can be very critical about the Tories' record, but one thing that was good is that schools have improved massively.
Right.
And she's now commissioned this incredibly woke review of the curriculum.
Another review.
How many reviews can we have?
Everyone's terrified, basically. I just wonder...
And aren't they decolonising the curriculum?
All of
well,
that
so
stuff.
What does that mean?
Decolonising it so that they're making it more diverse, less about white people and less about the British Empire.
I missed that out earlier. One of the greatest lines from Donald Trump is, my administration will be colourblind and we will employ on merit.
Yes,
exactly.
Not
no
diversity
hires. Absolute madness. Anyway, we've got to stop because we're running out of time. We've got 3 more to do, ladies and gentlemen. Coming back, Will Geddes will have his other nomination. There's a guy who's been impersonating Brad Pitt. And no, it's not Jeremy Kyle. We'll be back after this. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. We're nearly there. We've got 3 more to do, and then, of course, it will be the final judging decision right at the end, which I will do entirely on my own without any help from anyone. Now, which the Will Geddes. Remember the guy called Jeremy Corbyn? He used to be called Magic Grandad, didn't he?
This is the woke version of the Three Stooges.
Yeah, absolutely right.
Yeah.
Now, we should just preface it by saying, setting the scene, last weekend, there was yet another pro-Hamas march in London, right?
Yeah.
This was on the same weekend that the hostages were going to be released. There's 3 poor women who've been held for 471 days in a dark tunnel, having God knows what done to them. Finally released on Sunday afternoon, I think it was. But these bozos decided to be out front, leading the charge for a free Palestine.
Yeah.
Didn't like the idea of a ceasefire anymore, and being led by Jeremy Corbyn and John McDonnell.
Yeah. And also
former member
Piers Corbyn was there as well.
Shadow cabinet. Yeah, well, he would have been. Yeah.
Well, Piers Corbyn's obviously not got much to do. These 3 hobbits, or 4, I should say, basically ended up with their pro-Hamas, sort of demonstration, and this was held around the Whitehall area. And obviously, kettling is not the word to apply for it, but it was contained because obviously they didn't want them ruining obviously the traffic and the flow of people, obviously in the West End, which is busy at this time of year anyway. But then the 3 of them, or the 4 of them, decided to then break the police lines and go up to Trafalgar Square. Now,
but firstly, did they not also go to a place where they weren't supposed to go because there was a synagogue there?
Yeah.
Right? And they were deliberately led away from that area where they wanted to demonstrate, and they can only be wanting to do that for one reason, and that is to spread hatred, right?
Exactly. I mean, why they weren't out there actually protesting for the release of the other 77 hostages, who knows? But they were out there protesting, obviously, in support of Hamas, pro-Palestine, pro-Hamas, call it what you like. Same difference, and you look at what's happening with the Palestinians right now, and they're raiding all the trucks, the relief trucks and the aid trucks, which Hamas have been holding basically to themselves and selling out the back door. But long and the short of it, these 3 idiots coming out, what they were choosing to represent, I mean, obviously they wanted a bit of glare and a bit of glory on social media, but just antagonising things. And this is a former Prime Minister of this country who is out there.
Well, a former Prime Minister, hopeful Prime Minister.
Yeah, hopeful Prime Minister,
Leader of the opposition.
Leader of the opposition, pardon me. And who is out there. And yes, I'm sure he's a fantastic poster child for the Labour Party right now. Not that they need any help, obviously, in being utterly
But
inefficient.
he was then had his collar felt, didn't he?
So he's been charged with they've all been charged with public order offences.
Have they?
Yeah.
Right. Well, let's have a look at what he said when he came out of the police station.
Anything to say at all on your interview with the police? Goodbye. Do you think they were right to bring you in for an interview, for a caution? Do you have anything to say at all, Mr. Corbyn? Do you think the police were right in their decision to bring you in for an interview? Anything to say at all, Mr. Corbyn? What's your step, mate?
And then
But
the menacing,
typical
did you hear the
coward.
menacing bit at the end? What's your step, mate?
Yeah, but
that's the binder.
But a typical coward.
Yeah.
All fine and dandy to shout amongst
When
a
he's
big crowd
surrounded
of
by-
others.
Yeah.
But when he's on his own, why he didn't step out? If he's such a sort of campaigner, why didn't he come out and say, to be honest, the police will have their own stance on it, but I'm supporting
Of course.
Palestine.
Surely that's the point. You go
Typical
and do
bedwetter, as Jez would put
If you
it.
do something out of some kind of moral imperative,
Yeah.
surely you should have the stones to stand over it
Exactly.
and go, yeah, I did that, and I'll tell you why I did it.
Yeah.
That would be a great thing to.
Well, we go back to the very beginning of the show.
we might not agree.
That's why Donald Trump got elected, because he has the gonads.
Because he would have answered that question
straight out. And said,
and doesn't that also remind you when Jeremy Corbyn was leader of the opposition? Do you remember? I always look forward to it in the morning. They would have a cameraman outside his little house in North London, and he would come out and he would be raging, and you'd see them, and he would march down the little crappy garden that he had. It was always overgrown, right? And it always badly kept. And then he would get into the car to take him to work and slam the door. And I was always begging for one day for the door to slam on his hand because he would bang it so hard. And he was so grumpy. And it was like, mate, you're in politics. There's somebody outside your house every morning because they're going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
If you don't want to be in politics and you don't want to be leader of the party, then don't.
Exactly.
If you're doing it, have some absolute respect.
Play the game.
But like you said, he hasn't got stones, he hasn't even got gravel.
No.
The man's a coward, fundamentally.
Fundamentally. Amanda, over to you. And a Brad Pitt lookalike.
I love it.
This is my favourite story, maybe of the week, but not... Yeah, I don't know. It's so good. So there's a French woman and she gets a message from someone saying that they're Brad Pitt's mum.
Right.
And they end up chatting and she says, you know what, Brad Pitt, he should be with someone like you.
Unbelievable.
Oh, it's kind of sad.
For the next year, she ends up messaging this Brad Pitt. Turns out it's to be this scammer in Nigeria who's using AI to send her pictures.
John Goodbody.
Yeah, and the bizarre twist in the tale is that he sends pictures, Brad Pitt does, of him in hospital because he's going through cancer.
This is a picture he actually sent her.
Is that her on the left?
Oh my gosh. This is Anne. Who I think it's, obviously people get scammed every day and it's really sad and sometimes it's just not their fault. And I think she's going through a really tough time. Yeah. But there were just so many warning signs and maybe her story can actually be for the good because to learn actually come on.
700 grand.
700,000.
You're kidding.
So
What?
So actually,
Well, was he also
Pitt,
saying, I may be Brad Pitt, but I'm suddenly broke
Yeah.
because
Yes,
Angelina
exactly. There's so
Jolie's
much
taking all the money?
Yeah.
Clean me out.
There's so much that doesn't make sense. How come Brad Pitt can't afford his cancer treatment? Why don't we know about the cancer in the world?
Right.
Why was he on television the day she sent the money with his girlfriend in Cannes?
Why is he asking her? Why did his mum try and set him up? I'm just obsessed with
She was also convinced by this character to divorce her husband.
Oh my
No.
Yeah.
Well, that's how she paid for
Any old
him.
excuse, eh?
Now I have less sympathy.
Can I just say that's how she paid? That's a horrible part of the story.
Oh, what, from a divorce settlement?
So they're messaging. She falls in love with him. This is over a year, and he convinces her to leave her husband. And in the divorce settlement, she spends £700,000 on.
Blimey.
Who
Has her husband
thinks is
taken her
Brad
back?
Pitt. I'm a single lady myself. You know, you're always looking for the
She's
one
a single
who's
lady.
gonna. She's gonna.
You're not. Surely you're not.
You can't be.
Stop
You
it.
can't
be.
Stop
Devlin.
it. And obviously, you're always looking, optimistic.
Yeah.
You're the opposite of Keir Starmer.
It's
You want
better
to
to
be
be
optimistic about the
optimistic,
future, and you think maybe, Brad Pitt is after me. But there's also got to be that little hint of maybe it's not actually.
I think
it's too sad a story to be.
We've got more
Plank
pictures.
nomination.
We've got more pictures, I think,
God.
that he sent her from hospital.
There's one that he looks like he's been taken hostage.
Right.
So they know the middle on the left. He's holding up a sign.
Is this actually him then? This is not like a
no. So
Photoshop.
This is AI,
This
right?
is AI, and he's holding up a sign. It's like, "Hi, Anne."
What a strange story.
Maybe
but very
Brad
good
Pitt
one.
should. Maybe Brad Pitt has enough money and could just give her that money back. It's ruined her life.
Yeah.
So I
That's
feel
a great line, that is.
I do feel like Brad Pitt owes her, and he should just get rid.
Yeah.
What is he going to spend his money on anyway?
Not a great precedent to set, though, is it? If somebody claiming to be me scams you, I'll pay you the money back. I would.
Also, if Brad Pitt slides into my DMs after this,
Yes.
Let us know.
what if it is actually him?
Okay. It's a manner of speaking.
Millennial.
I'm slightly worried then.
It's a manner of speaking.
I'm not with it. Slid into my what?
DMs. It's not like Dr. Martens either. Okay? I'll
Dirty-
explain
no.
later. No,
No.
I'll explain to you later. Direct messages, DMs.
Oh, I thought it was dirty something.
No,
You've done it. It kind of is.
Coming up, final nomination from me, and it's one of our old favourites from the world of rock and roll. This is Plank of the Week. Welcome back to Plank of the Week. It is the final part of the show. We've already had 9 nominees, and they've all been brilliant, I have to say. Very varied this week as well. There's quite a lot of people from the Labour government, funnily enough. But I'm going to go with a bit of showbiz, especially for Amanda. We've had a bit of Brad Pitt. Now, have a bit of Chris Martin. who is, of course, the very famous lead singer of Coldplay, who will always be, for me, the only member of Coldplay that I would recognise walking down the street. You know, if the drummer or the bass player or the guitarist, if any of them turned up right now, I wouldn't know they were in Coldplay. Nobody knows who they are. I don't even know what their names are. No. But he's made a massive fortune being very, very talented. He's gone a bit woke lately as well. But he was over in India because they're on a tour, apparently. Do you remember years ago they said they weren't going to tour anymore because they didn't want to damage the planet? And on the tour before that, they decided to plant some trees in order to, offset the carbon footprint from flying. Unfortunately, Chris Martin gave the money to some company that planted a load of trees in Sri Lanka, which is quite a hot country, and they all burned to the ground because it was too hot, right? And as you might imagine, a forest of trees creates quite a lot of carbon.
Yeah.
So that wasn't great for the atmosphere. Anyway, he goes to India for only the second time in the history of Coldplay. Last time it was 2016. And here's what he actually said. "Thank you for coming to see us. It's amazing to us that you welcome us, even though we are from Great Britain." And you go, sorry?
What?
Even though we're from Great Britain. And he then says, "Thank you for forgiving us for all of the bad things Great Britain has done and welcoming us into your home." What's wrong with these people?
I have been vilified for years by
them?
saying that he sings the most miserable bloody music ever, and now I'm completely proven right.
Yeah. Agreed.
What an oh my God.
What an absolute wally and plank.
Well, we knew he was ages ago when he did that statement, announcing his split. His divorce is a conscious uncoupling
from Gwyneth Paltrow.
What is conscious? Do you still sleep with them then? What does it mean?
Consciously uncoupling? No, it means they're splitting up.
Well, just say it then, you
exactly. I know. Well, exactly right.
I love this show so much. I love this show, man. This is my greatest hour of the week. I love it.
Well, listen, now's the time to judge, right? So I'm going to ask each of you who you think should win it. Jeremy, come on.
I am going to shock you all.
Go on.
I think Amanda Devlin should win it this week because I think that was the best.
Am I the
Brad Pitt?
I'm sorry, that woman.
Oh my God.
We always go with Keir Starmer.
$700,000.
It's so unique.
I'm actually, I'm with Jeremy on that one.
Right?
That was a good one. That was a really good one.
I think
he thought he was a shoo-in.
I think, Keir Starmer obviously.
It's different. I mean, the thing is, Keir Starmer does win it quite a lot.
You guys got too cocky, and then I came right in.
I just sold it.
That's it.
Yeah, you have.
Stealthed it in there.
Also, Keir Starmer will win it a lot this year.
Yeah, okay. I reckon.
I must admit, I am tempted.
So's French bird.
Because we do. Honestly, if you put Labour in there so often, it's either Sadiq Khan or it's Keir Starmer or it's Rachel Thieves. It's one of them. I think you're right. Let's do this. Do we even know what her name is?
Yeah, Plank.
Anne Plank. It's a bit like Anne Frank.
I knew it.
Anne Plank, you are.
That'll upset her.
You know, the plank of the week, £700,000.
Well done, Amanda.
I've got a lookalike, people call me the Fat Michael Gove. I don't know if that's worth any money.
Stop it.
The Fat Michael Gove.
Yeah.
That's very unfair.
That's cruel.
Yeah.
Let's just go along the line. Brad
Send me
Pitt.
£500,000.
I know, you look like Carol Decker from Tapau.
Send me £500,000 and I'll send you some pictures.
You look like James Bond.
From hospital.
And you look fantastic.
Yes. I was a bit worried there for a moment. Anyway, listen, thank you to Jeremy Kyle, thank you to Candice, thank you to Will, thank you to Amanda. Well done, everybody. Plank of the week. It's Anne Plank over in France. £700,000 lighter, thanks to Brad Pitt lookalike. This is Plank of the Week. We'll see you next time.